What's up, fight fans? Welcome back to the MMA Savvy Podcast. It's your favorite host, Ari Weiss, alongside combat sport expert, Big Rich Fulgoni. And today we'll be discussing UFC Fight Night, Ulberg versus Reyes, that went down Saturday night in Perth, Australia. Then we'll deep dive the light heavyweight division and analyze what's next for the surging star, Carlos Ulberg. Then we'll also preview UFC 320, Ankalayev versus Pereira II, that goes down Saturday night in Las Vegas. In standard Savvy fashion, we'll go through the card, analyze all the big fights, and drop our official MMA Savvy fight picks. So with that, let's go straight to the card and get rolling. Okay, baby, UFC Fight Night, Ulberg versus Reyes. Honestly, it was a bit of a shame card, Dana. I mean, they didn't give us a hot co-main event. You were right, Richie. The crowd never really showed up. It wasn't packed. It got louder as the night went along, but it wasn't Paris, unless your Paris Wally is not impressed. But overall, the main fight was still very important because Ulberg put his stamp on the division. Let's take a look at this. Number 3, Carlos Ulberg versus number 7, light heavyweight in the world, Dominic Reyes, on a 3-fight win streak. So I'll just break down the fight here, Richie, and I'll get your thoughts. Not much happened the first couple minutes. They were really kind of taking their time. They knew it was a 5-round fight. Reyes should have been a little bit more active, but I think just because of that big losing streak that he had gone on back in his career, he was a little tentative. Also, this was a very important fight, and in this division, one punch can end it. So about 4 minutes in, all of a sudden, Ulberg gets aggressive, hits him with the 1-2, and boom, it was done. It was done before you noticed. And the crazy thing here, Richie, is Ulberg, after that Blachowicz fight, he didn't look that impressive. Nico was going on and on about Ulberg. He wasn't that impressive. And I thought he was going to be a new point fighter. And boom, he shocked the world. He knocks out Reyes with a quick 1-2. He didn't even need the follow-up on the ground, and now he might have solidified himself as the number 1 contender at number 3. Richie, how do you see this fight going down?
Yeah, man, that was impressive by Ulberg. I got to be honest, I kind of agree with Nico. That last fight, and even the one before that, he'd had back-to-back decisions against No Time, and then you see the same thing, playing it very safe in that fight with former champion Blachowicz. So, yeah, I wasn't expecting to see the guy that came out last night, right? They both started off slow, as you pointed to, and we're kind of going through a feeling out period, and then suddenly Ulberg, ramps it up, and like you said, a nice 1-2. He gets off the center line and lands that follow-up. I think it was a right cross, and it was almost, lights out for Reyes. He did not look good even starting the fight. I gotta say, just physique-wise, he looked a little soft, a little doughy. Didn't look like he came in great shape, and he just looked tentative, and, there wasn't a ton of strikes landed. I think it was 11 total strikes landed by Ulberg, and only 5 landed by Reyes, and 4 of those were leg kicks. You know what I mean? So not a lot of action there. They were playing it safe, but I mean, Ulberg looked like an absolute sniper, completely different guy. Very, very dangerous, if he lets those hands go. So I'm really curious to see what he could do now with a step up. Because, when I look back at his record, he only really fought 2 or 3 guys in the top 10 or 15 along the way. So is it going to be, a bigger step up once he fights the winner, potentially, of this next matchup with Pereira? We'll see.
So speaking of that, let's check out the light heavyweight division, something that we do here special at Savvy that no one else does, the deep dives. You can see that we're just going to look at the top 5, maybe the top 10, because I know Richie Boy's going to want to talk about Murzakanov. But look at this. Ankalayev is booked with Pereira. That happens in 1 week. We know this, right? Jiri booked with Rountree Jr. also that same night, which is what makes this upcoming card unbelievable. But Ulberg now at the number 3 spot, I think he did enough. Okay, here's the situation. Ulberg probably is next in line, right? But it depends on the musical chairs here, okay? Hear me out, Richie. Because if Jiri wins in spectacular fashion, and Ankalayev also beats Pereira again, then it might just be Jiri, because he is the number 2 contender. But if Pereira gets the revenge and knocks off Ankalayev, even if Jiri wins in spectacular fashion, they're not going to give it to him because they've already seen it twice. So then
Agreed.
Ulberg most likely gets the shot, right? So that's going to be very interesting. Do you see it the same way, sir?
Yeah, pretty much, man. Definitely really interested to see how Pereira shows up for this fight against Ankalaev. I was one who was sort of in the camp that he was overworked, fighting too much, 3-4 times a year, traveling a lot, making all this money outside of the ring. God bless. But at the same time, he didn't seem focused. And there was also rumors of an injury. So let's see if it's really just, the footwork and the good game plan of Ankalaev that that led him to outclass that last fight, or if, Pereira was just kind of fighting with the governor and not letting his hands go. So we'll see what happens there. But yeah, I think Ulberg, with that big, dramatic win last night, very efficient with his striking and dangerous at the same time, first round KO. He definitely looks like he's next in line. I'm really curious to see what happens with Rountree. I think that he had a tough fight with Pereira, took a ton of punishment, but showed a ton of heart. Didn't get finished until the 4th round. But he seems like he's kind of leveled up. He looked really good in that fight against Hill. So, it's definitely some exciting movement in a division that's been a little bit lackluster, as of recent. Used to be one of our favorite divisions in MMA. It definitely needs some new blood at the top. So it's kind of cool to see Ulberg have potential to get up in there. And then, I love my boy down there, Murzakanov. He just, that guy's a boogeyman. And, you already called me out on that. But I think he's someone that you got to keep an eye on, because the way he's finishing people and walking through shots, not worried about what's coming back. He's a very dangerous man. But yeah, it's exciting to see some movement here. And like you said, these 2 weeks are going to show us a lot.
And he's there booked against Rakic, I believe, at the Abu Dhabi card. And that is big. Okay, so speaking of unbelievable cards, it could be the card of the year, except for the main event. We all know Wally doesn't care about this fight. They should have never just instantly booked the rematch. I know there's a lot of Pereira fans that get pissed at me online when I say it, but here's my feelings real quick. Why would Fight 2 be any different? Pereira, yes, maybe you're saying he had a night off of the octagon, but why does anybody think this is going to be different than the first fight? I feel like Ankalayev kind of finally figured out the puzzle that is Poatan, and I just don't see next fight being different. What, Pereira's now going to decide to fight in the second fight? Maybe he will. So anyway, let's break it down. It is one of the best cards of the year, UFC 320, this Saturday night, T-Mobile Arena, Las Vegas, Magomed, Pfeiffer. We're not going to go through our picks there, but on our Instagram page, Friday night, Richie Boy MMA and MMA.Savvy, drop them there. So get our full fight picks there. And then, of course, Emmett Zalal is also a great fight. But we're going to start with number 2, Jiri Procházka, light heavyweight, versus Khalil Rountree Jr. at number 4 in the world. Let's take a look at the records here, Richie Boy. Jiri, 31-5. Khalil Rountree Jr., 15-6. Let's look at the history. That's what we love to do here in Savvy. So if you go back, remember, he shocks the world, takes the belt from Teixeira. Okay, only then to instantly lose, and I think it was a little bit of a premature stoppage, but he loses to Pereira in the first fight. He comes back and resets himself in a great, rugged fight against Rakic, to then only lose in a much more devastating fashion the second time. That was a real loss to Pereira, but then to come back in a really gutsy performance against Hill. So he's still there. He's a great contender, and it seems like only Pereira is the guy can beat him. But then if you look at Rountree really quickly, he's also gone on an unbelievable run. He beats Jacoby, he beats Daukaus, he beats Smith, to then also lose to Pereira. But man, that was the one where he elevated his star power in that loss, because he knocked Pereira down. He really showed who he was. And then what a tactical, almost immaculate striking performance against Hill. I hated how Hill was like, why didn't you go toe-to-toe with me? I'm like, whatever, bro. You lost every round. So that was ridiculous. So Rountree Jr., very serious guy. Let's look at the odds. I have it all here for you, Richie Boy. Jiri is a -175. Nico, of course, is taking his boy Jiri. Who do you got here, Rich?
Yo, I like Jiri a lot. He's been kind of up and down. I don't know. I have a feeling about Rountree. He looked so good in that last fight. He was so tough against Pereira in the first one. He's been training his ass off. It seems like he's training year round at this point. So I just feel like he's got something going. The striking's been looking really, really good. And I know that Jiri's got that unorthodox striking, but I'm going to go ahead and side with Rountree here.
I'm taking Rountree also and going against Nico. That's my big underdog pick, and I'm riding high, even though the Magny fight will probably get appealed. Wally underdog picks hit, baby. So I'm taking Rountree Jr. with you, because I just feel like after that Hill performance, he looks unstoppable. Jiri's a little bit more wild, but we're almost maybe screwing ourselves, because besides Pereira, who can actually beat Jiri? So Jiri probably still is the favorite, but I just have a feeling about Rountree Jr. And after those couple sloppy losses to Pereira, we know that Jiri's human, and that's why I'm going that way. Okay, co-main event, Bantamweight title of the world. This card is stacked, baby. Merab versus Sandhagen, the champ versus number 4 in the world. Let's take a look here. Merab now is 20-4. Sandhagen is 18-5. Let's look at the champ first here. I mean, you almost don't even need to look back at this, but we all remember he goes on that run. He beats Aldo. He beats Jan in shocking fashion. He out-wrestles Olympic gold medalist Cejudo to then beat O'Malley. And that first one was somewhat close, but he pretty much manhandles him. And then the shining moment, I think, of his career is that unbelievable performance against Umar Nurmagomedov, because Umar did show up. That was close all the way into the final couple rounds. And even Merab was able to out-wrestle someone from Khabib's camp, which you never see, right? And then to come back and to beat O'Malley even more efficiently and even more easy with the submission in the third. Who can take out the machine? I don't know. But I like Corey here. I think he has a shot. So since he lost to Jan, he beats Yadong, although Nico pissed about that doctor stoppage there. He beats Vera, which I can't believe was split because that was an easy fight for him. Screw that, Richie. And then he beats Font to only lose to Umar because Umar did have the superior grappling, but then to come back and, man, he looked phenomenal against Figgy. Figgy wasn't even in the fight. And so I feel like he's much better positioned than O'Malley because maybe he doesn't have the wrestling of an Umar, but he's got the grappling to contend with Merab. So now let's look at the odds here. Merab is a -400. And Nico gonna shock the world, and he's taking Sandhagen. And Richie, who do you got, baby?
I mean, I like Corey a lot. Does his length and his decent grappling maybe give him a shot in the fight and, allow him to land some strikes potentially? It's just so hard to go against Merab, man. The guy is the machine for a reason. I can't bet against him here. I got to take the machine. I'm actually rooting for Corey. I'd like to see him shake up at the top of the division. And, he's been long sort of like a top tier gatekeeper. So it's nice to see him get a shot, but I got to go the machine.
I'm siding with you again, Richie boy, which is not what we normally do, but I'm also taking the machine. I'm going to be rooting Corey because I think he's got one of the better shots of anybody in the division to take out Merab besides maybe an Umar rematch down the line. But I'm going to side with you until I see someone out machine the machine. We gotta pick Merab. It's just a safer bet. And I already took Rountree. That's my big underdog pick. Now, main event. We know I don't care about it, but it is big. Ankalayev versus Pereira II. Light heavyweight title bout in Vegas. This is going to be nuts. I mean, it's still a pretty just fight because I do feel like Pereira is going to be man enough to fight this time. He realizes his mistakes. He was too complacent. He let Ankalayev kind of blanket him a little bit, and he got outstruck in that second round. Don't forget that. But I think this time he's going to come like a viper. He's got a better shot. Let's look at Ankalayev, what he's done. Since that draw from Blachowicz, he beats Walker, he beats Rakic, and then he shocks the world and steals the belt from Pereira. I wouldn't say it's some monumental run, but he just always did enough to be a solid guy. If you look at Pereira, we don't need to see the whole history because we know what he's done, right? He beat Jiri, he gets the belt, dominates Hill, beats Jiri again, beats Rountree, and then finally loses to Ankalayev. But a lot of people like Nico are unhappy with that decision, although I thought it was very clear 3-2 Ankalayev. Let's look at the odds here, Richie boy. Ankalayev is a -265. Of course, we know Nico taking another underdog, and he's taking Pereira. Who do you got, Richie?
Yo, I'm actually going to side with Nico on this one, so I'm kind of hoping you picked Ankalayev just because I don't want to be going on the same side as your picks again. It just kind of gives me a bad taste in my mouth. But yeah, Pereira, I think the big difference is some of the stuff I was reading. It sounds like he was back at home in Connecticut training with Glover at the gym where he's often training and coaching and not traveling around the world, not doing photo ops, not driving, foreign cars and going crazy. I think he's back focused. I think he wasn't right for the first fight. I think he was overworked. I think he was over-traveled. I think he was underprepared. And I think he was even potentially hurt. So I'm taking Pereira to come back in a big way. And, if he doesn't, and we see sort of the same thing play out, I think this might be sort of his downturn. And maybe it's time to go up to heavyweight and just book some big fights because that division is definitely lacking talent.
And Wally, he's taking Ankalayev. You called it, Richie. Of course I'm taking Magomed on this one because he's going to do the same thing, and this is what I've been saying for the last 8 months. Why would the second fight be any different? He already figured out the puzzle. Pereira's not going to catch him this time. Pereira's only shot is to catch him with some bombs in the first or the second round, but I think Ankalayev's going to blanket him. He's going to grapple. He might even get a takedown this time. Of course, I might even root. My heart pick is a Pereira on this one. It's turned to Alex Pereira, but I got to be smart and take Ankalayev. And so there we go. Those are our savvy picks, baby. Okay, that's it for this week. Thank you for listening to the MMA Savvy Podcast, the world's top place for MMA content. If you like these weekly episodes, make sure to hit subscribe. And if you're a real MMA enthusiast, check out the MMA Savvy videos on our page. You might see some UFC legends pop up, such as Nick Diaz, Ronda Rousey, and John Jones. The old channel has been revived, and we couldn't be more excited. Please subscribe, follow, comment, like, share, and blast on all of our social channels. We're blasting hard on the talk, we're heavy on the gram, and we're going crazy on the tube. That's at MMA Savvy. And also hit up Richie Boy MMA and make sure to comment and challenge our takes if you have disagreements. We love the comments and interactions with the fans. So with that, stay savvy, fight fans.